Hi, this is Danuka from The Parenting Evolution. I had the pleasure of interviewing Kitty Davidson from Mindful Summits to talk about stress and anxiety and how we deal with it from a neuroscience perspective. Now, why is that relevant to parenting? Well, because when we feel stress and anxiety, what do? We project onto our children. What we want to teach our children is how to respond to stress and anxiety as opposed to how to react to it. And by us modeling that behavior is the best way to be as a parent. So enjoy. I hope you get some tips, and I'll see you at the end. Welcome, Kitty.
Hi, Danuka. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thanks for being here. So, Kitty is an integrative psychotherapist and wellness coach. So, today I've invited Kitty because I really feel the need to know why we should do the things that we do sometimes, the brain research, the neuroscience behind certain behaviors, but also to get the help in knowing what to do when our brain goes into overdrive.
Okay. First, I want to talk about the response inside the body when that all happens, because I think that if we understand how our mind and our brain and all the other systems inside of our body is working, that kind of gives us a good foundation to set up how I get to be aware. Okay. Part of this is being aware of how we react in certain situations. So we have two different nervous systems in our body that I like to work with. Okay. One of them is called the parasympathetic nervous system, and the other one is called the sympathetic nervous system. Okay. So the parasympathetic nervous system is your peace. And you can always remind yourself, I'm searching for peace, and I'm engaging my parasympathetic nervous system because it starts with a P. Also, you've got your sympathetic nervous system, and your sympathetic nervous system gets activated when you feel like you're out of control, when there is a perception of threat.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So S for stress, sympathetic, right. S for stress.
Okay.
So what happens inside of us, we have something called the thalamus. And the thalamus is your internal router that says, hey, you know what? I see something on the outside and I am making a perception about it. I'm either going to perceive it as a threat or I'm going to perceive it as a reward.
Okay.
Okay. So if it's a threat, it's going to go right to your amygdala. So your amygdala says, oh goodness, it's a threat. And therefore your anxiety might kick up. Your fear might kick up, your anger might kick up, whatever that tough emotion is, your amygdala says, whoa. And it's called what we in the business call an amygdala hijack. Okay. And that's part of, it's going into our reptilian brain. And when I've worked with kids before, I call it your reptile brain versus your wizard brain.
Right. So is that what you call the, what is it, when you go into fight or flight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because your fight or flight is your sympathetic nervous system, that stress response.
Got it. So then what do you do to bring it to the parasympathetic nervous system?
It's really easy to do. You just have to ground yourself. And the easiest way to ground yourself and to activate that parasympathetic nervous system is with your breath. So what we need to remember is, okay, I need to breathe from my belly. I need to do a deep diaphragmatic breath in through my nose. And you can release it out through your nose, or you can release it out through your mouth. But take that nice deep breath in and release it out. I usually tell people to start with an in count in through your nose with a 6 to a count, and then an out with an 8. Okay, because you want your exhale to be longer. Okay, because it's actually slowing the body process down each time that you take these breaths. You can do something called box breathing as well. So it's in through your nose for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, in again for 4, out for 4. In, hold, out, in, hold, out. One of the things I also advocate for is people to understand how their body reacts when they're feeling, before they get to that spot of being super out of control. Just by being aware of, I'm starting to breathe really quickly, or my fingers are starting to tingle, or my head is starting to hurt, or I'm feeling a little anxious. So if you can use your body as that thermometer,
Right. Right.
you can catch yourself and then do the breathing.
Okay.
That nice deep breath, and it will start to slow your body down. And it's also taking you out of not just the sympathetic nervous system response, but it's also taking you into a different part of your brain too. Okay.
Okay. I like that. It really makes sense because I meditate anyway, but never
Yes.
knew, why the breath. So when there
Yeah.
is an explanation or a scientific reason behind sympathetic and parasympathetic
Yeah.
systems, it makes sense to me. So I love that.
Yeah. There's another thing that you can do too if you're feeling pretty anxious. I'm also an EMDR therapist, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I use it a lot for trauma, anxiety, depression, grief, and performance issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What that is, it's bilateral stimulation of the brain.
Okay.
Because what happens when we're in that sympathetic nervous system response, both sides of our brain, they're not working so well together, and we want them to be able to talk to each other. With bilateral stimulation of the brain, if we can get those two sides talking again, there's something in the middle of your brain called the corpus callosum, and that links those two hemispheres together. And what I tell people is when we're not clear, when that sympathetic nervous system is all up in arms and that kind of thing, that corpus callosum, the two halves, they're not talking to each other anymore. So we're kicking out the troll from under the bridge.
Yeah.
So those two halves of your brain can talk again. Okay, because one side of the brain gets activated, and with bilateral stimulation, it puts those two talking again.
Because the best balance is to have both, not one that's purely logical and then one that's only creative. The balance is what we're looking for.
We can do that bilateral stimulation a couple different ways, and we can do it when we're feeling like we're being triggered, and nobody will ever know. So you can tell that your anxiety is coming up. Just drop your hands onto your legs.
Mm-hmm. Take
a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and just start tapping on your legs, left, right, left, right. Oh. And no one will notice. And you're just going to stand there for a moment and take a couple deep breaths. Okay. And your sympathetic nervous system is going to drop. Your parasympathetic nervous system is going to increase. And your brain is going to start talking. Both sides of your brain are going to start talking to each other. I've taught kids to do this when they're feeling a little anxious or a little out of control. I've taught them how to breathe, and then I teach them to do something that we call the butterfly hug. Okay. So this feels really calming, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Doing that was nice.
Right? So you're feeling really calm and usually safe. And then if you just do this, left, right, let me go.
Yep, I see it.
Yep. Left, right, that's still bilateral stimulation of the brain. And then evoke the breath. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and release it out through your mouth.
Oh my gosh, everyone needs to know this. This is crucial information that most parents could use. Just the simplicity.
If they're in school, just sit there and put your hands on your lap and left, right it. And they'll sit there and nobody will notice. They're tapping on their legs, left, right.
Right, that is true.
And they're like, whoa,
yeah,
I'm actually focused, because your mind is also focusing on this bilateral stimulation. It's not just, your brain is magic.
Right.
It's just pure magic. And it will focus on what you give it focus to.
That is true. Yeah,
I never
thought of it that way.
one of the things, if you're doing this in conjunction with the breathing and the visualization, you're taking yourself into a different brain wave where you're concentrating, and you're not in beta, you're in gamma, which is high concentration. And that's usually when you're concentrating and meditating. And so you're slowing that brain wave down as well.
Wow.
So there's lots of really neat brain science that goes into all the things that I do to help people bring you out of that stress response.
Right. And so then by practicing that, does that mean that you're developing the muscle there so that it's quicker to come back to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're using awareness plus your tool, plus also recognizing after you come out of it, wow, I feel better.
Right.
Because if you start to commit these things to memory, you're doing something called functional neuroplasticity, which is learning and memory.
Okay. So the memory would be when I'm in this stress, I am able to come out of it.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's the muscle you're developing. I see.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yep.
Same thing. I mean, that's exactly it, right? Again,
Yes.
an explanation of meditation.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love to research is meditation. And that's part of, I'm in a PhD program for integrative medicine. And one of the things that I research is meditation and the effects of when we meditate, how does that affect your brain and the sympathetic nervous system response? And it does, because the deep breathing helps you regulate and helps how quickly that amygdala is activated. So there's so much research being done with deep breathing and meditation and the awareness part of it that, I mean, I don't know, it's so close to my heart.
Yeah. No, I can tell you're so passionate, Kitty. That's why
Yeah.
I really wanted you on this, to do this interview, because I think it'll be really helpful for parents to just have the quick fix. I mean, we haven't been meditating for 20, 30 years, right? And even 5 minutes a day is really helpful. But sometimes you've already, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to leave now to meditate because I'm still having my tantrum with my child who's not going to do schoolwork then, or whatever it may be. So having those tools are really helpful. And first and foremost, I think, is the pause.
Right. It is the pause. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another technique that I teach people to help ground them when they're having that anxious response. And I think it's really helpful for kids. Okay. And I tell people to use their 5 senses. Okay. Yeah. So when you feel that out of control, first have the awareness, bring yourself in, take a deep breath. And the first one you're going to start out with is your sight. I see 5 things. So look around, and that is the easiest one to do, is I see 5 things.
Okay.
Pick them out, name them. And then 4 things that you can touch.
Okay.
Okay. So I can touch my desk. I can touch my jacket, my hair, my earlobe.
Okay.
Okay. And these are all tactile things, and you do it really slowly.
Okay.
And then the third thing is I hear 3 things.
Okay.
I can hear maybe the AC click on. I can hear a car go by. I can hear my mom's voice.
Okay.
Okay. Then 2 things I can smell. So I smell 2 things. I smell my lotion. I smell the fabric softener on my jacket. I don't know. Okay. And then you taste 1 thing. And here's the nice thing about the taste. When you are taking a drink of water, 1, you're hydrating, which is a good thing. You're also activating a different part of your brain because it's a different kind of response that will take you out of that sympathetic nervous system response. You also have a lot of parasympathetic nerve endings in your lips.
Wow, that is fascinating.
But you have a bunch of nerve endings in there, and that's part of the parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay. So you go through so we started with seeing, then hearing,
yes,
then touching,
yes,
then smelling,
Yes.
And then taste.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And if you want to see a video about that, I have a YouTube channel, or just go to my website and check on the YouTube. But it's kittydavidsonlpc.com
Okay.
and find my channel, and I have a video on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was really helpful, Kitty.
You're welcome.
Fascinating. So then after we use those 5, that will definitely bring down any tantrums or whatever
Yeah, because you're grounding the person, or
Okay.
you're grounding the kiddo, or you're grounding yourself. You're taking yourself outside of whatever that stressor is.
So then once you take yourself out of it, that's when we can bring awareness to what we are feeling. Because the point isn't to be distracted and never deal with the emotion.
Right. No, you don't. You have to deal with the emotion, because that brings in a bunch of learning as well.
Exactly.
That it's okay to have this emotion. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, is that, oh, I'm not supposed to have this anxiety. I'm not supposed to feel out of control. Well, that's the human condition. We're supposed to have anxiety. We're supposed to have stress. We feel out of control. Life happens. But it's what we do with it and being able to address it.
And we can't, when we are in that state of amygdala, then we don't have the capacity to really look at what those emotions truly are.
No, we usually end up cleaning it up after the fact. But we can definitely recognize, I am having a response and I can do something about it. I can calm, I usually say I can calm my jets.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm talking about, with cleanup afterwards. Oh my gosh. I am number 1 for feeling the guilt and the shame, as a parent. So we all feel it. And so this is great to be able to practice and get into that mode of calming ourselves down. So we can also teach our children that, I can be in control right now, and I can be sad, I can be emotional, but I will be truthfully emotional. Right?
Yes.
And then deal with it from a really good, a truthful, authentic place, as opposed to other things influencing the external.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Kitty, I want to thank you so much. Thank you.
Awesome. Yes. Thank you so much. It was so awesome to talk to you and bring this yumminess to you.
Wow. I really hope you're able to get some tips and tools for your toolbox, because as we know, parenting is hard. No one said it was easy, but the more tools we have, the better we get and the easier it gets. So I really hope you're able to take something away from this and use it. Try. No harm. If you do need more information about conscious parenting, if you'd like to learn more about it, subscribe to my channel, or you can email me at theparentingevolution@gmail.com. I hope to see you.